Look at that. That's what's in the bottom of the pan. Well, tubers, I bought some more junk. It's a Gardner Denver FXN. I believe that this is a 14-inch pump, 14-inch stroke duplex. It's got a Cat D353 on it. The story I got, which was passed to a few people and nobody really, who knows, we're gonna find out. The story I got was the engine's pretty much fresh overhaul, low hours, and full of rainwater. I'd like to try to get it broke loose and free before it freezes, and so I'm gonna get to work on it. I don't really know the true story. I don't really know if the pump's any good. I think I paid $7,500 or something like that for it. Just a little more than what it bring at the scrap, for scrap price. So I'm not too concerned about it. But I'm hoping that I might be able to save the engine. I hate these big Cat engines. This 475 horsepower, and they're just massive. I mean, they're good engines. They'll last, they're $40,000 engines, but they're just like trying to ski behind a tugboat. They're just not the right way to do it. These used to be everywhere in the oil field, and everybody sort of got away from them. You can buy these pretty inexpensive. They used to there's been tons and tons of these things scrapped. They're getting kind of hard to find now. There's not many of them left, but I'm a little bit concerned. I pulled the dipstick on it. It's over full of oil, and the oil seems really thin, and I'm afraid that the oil is diluted, and it has sort of a unusual burnt smell. I'm a little bit concerned that it might have not had anything to do with water. It might have had somehow, and I'm not real familiar with these pumps. I worked on a few of these engines. I don't have a lot of experience with them, but somehow that it's put diesel fuel into the crankcase and diluted the oil and spun a bearing or something. These don't have any kind of transmission. It's got a clutch. This here is connected to the pump, and it's got a drive ring inside of here that's connected to the crankshaft. And how this works is there's this shaft here is hollow. It's got a swivel here. You hook air line up here, and it pushes air through the shaft. And it's got an air line that comes out the center of the shaft on the bottom down there, and airs up this bladder. And this bladder has got these shoes on it, and these shoes push down and clamp on the drive ring. These are excellent clutches. They're a lot better than a twin disc because you can slip them. You can pull them in real easy with a graduated air valve instead of just being just whamming them in. So I think what I'm going to do is I want to go get air. We're going to hook air up to this clutch, and I can put a pipe wrench right here, and I'm going to see if we can get this engine to budge at all. I got my compressor aired up. Hopefully there's enough air to click this in. It doesn't have I don't have a cord to reach to it. Oh, that thing is stuck. I figured that weight of that would roll it. Yep, there it went. Release the clutch. Now what? See if it appears to have any water in it. It doesn't. It smells like, it kind of smells like gasoline. Surely they didn't put used motor oil out of a gas engine or something in it. Gasket wasn't down there like it's supposed to be. I see just a couple of little flakes, but it doesn't look like it's like just completely wiped a bearing out. This looks like soot. Surely they didn't overhaul it and not clean the filter housings out. It's possible this thing may have had some more runtime on it than I think, 1,000 hours or something. Filters look kind of caked up, like, I don't know. And for some reason it's over full of oil. That was actually just the seal that went on the filter. Let's just put these back in there for right now. I think I'm going to try to determine whether it's actually got water in it. And I'm going to pull the glow plug deletes out of it and just see if we can maybe see signs of water, or of course these are all turned just perfect where you can't. That sucker's going to twist off. That's possible. That's an indication that there might be water in it. Well, that exhaust valve there is open. That's, I mean, I assume it'd run in the first cylinder if the valve was open. Yeah, that's not a... I can't believe how nasty this thing is. It's possible this thing's got 1,000 hours on it and they never changed the oil in it or something. I mean, that's typical oil field. This is golly. What the heck is all that crap? Surely they didn't just... Well, I don't know. You can tell all this has been... I don't know. You can tell all this has been apart. Well... That valve actually did come loose. I bet Bunny it's this number 1 or number 6. So the guy that I worked at the scrapyard that I bought this from told me that about 4 or 5 months ago, whenever they picked it up, he actually got the engine to move. It wouldn't roll through, but that it did turn. Wasn't quite what I wanted to happen. So we left part of the nozzle, part of the injector. Yeah, there it comes. I went and got a borescope and it won't go down in through the injector hole. Look at all the trash inside the screen on that nozzle. I just can't believe how nasty this thing is. I bet they overhauled this thing, typical oil field. I bet they overhauled it and it's got, a couple 1,000 hours on it or something, and they never changed the oil. It's just horrible. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and pull all these injectors out and just look down the cylinders, see if any of them's full of water, see if I can sort of tell anything, and then go from there. So a little bit of an update. I pulled this front valve cover off, and number 3, ouch, has got the valve stuck in it. Well, that just came loose. Well, as I said that, I'm gonna spray PB down in all these cylinders. I didn't get the last glow plug out, but I got the injector out, which is fine. And then I'm gonna let it sit a while and I guess get rougher with it, see if we can get it to turn. That's all I know to do. So I went and made a glow plug adapter. It's just 3/8 fine thread. I can thread this in the glow plug holes and shoot air to it, and I'm thinking maybe if I put air to all these, it will, one, either make enough force in the engine to make it turn, or it'll help push that PB blaster down by the piston rings. And when my camera's about dead, I'm going to, if anything happens, I'll pick it back up. So it's been a few hours. I actually put that 36 back on the clutch shaft and got rough enough with it that I broke that pipe wrench. This thing's pretty dang stuck. I'm starting to think this probably isn't never going to run again. I'm going to pull this side pan off. We can look in there and see if there's anything that looks like a main bearing's blue or rod bearing or something. Kind of only thing I know to do next. Ooh. So it actually looks to me like from here that it's this cylinder. This one is extremely rough. This liner on, what is it, cylinder 4, feels okay. And you can't touch the liner here because the piston's all the way down, but I'm going to go pull the injectors out of at least this cylinder, maybe that cylinder. This old kitty cat's not looking too good. I pulled the water coolant pipe, what do you call it, off. It goes over there, and got this side pan off here. And it looks to be about the same. You can't really feel anything on this one because the piston's all the way down. That cylinder right there, number 2, is extremely rough. I mean, you can just, you can literally just dig rust off the inside of the liner. This one feels okay actually. So it's got at least 2 that are absolutely gone. It's unusual to me that it's number 2 and number 5, because I don't know how they would have both had the exhaust valves open, unless somehow it communicated or something, but I don't know. I may get on Temu and see if they've got a in-frame kit for one of these. I don't like these engines. As I said, they're nothing wrong with them. They're great engines. They run forever, but they're just massive for what they are. They're only 475 horse, and they're 1400 and something cubic inch, I think. A 3406 would probably do it, or a V8 Detroit. I got a couple 12-cylinder Detroits too, which is probably a little more power than this pump needs. It's only a 400 horse pump. But I had made up my decision. Don't know. I got a guy working for me. He may get to figure out how a D53 comes apart. I may just stick him with an impact wrench and scatter this thing. I don't know. I really wanted to get that thing to run, because I really don't know that this pump is any good. And if the pump is scrap, I didn't take much of a gamble on this. I would just as soon, instead of working on all this and overhauling the engine, just haul it back to the scrap yard and throw 2,000 bucks away and be done with it. And I was really hoping that I was going to get that thing broke loose and to run so that I could use it, even if it was in, you know, poor shape. But I don't think it's going to happen. All right, I didn't give up yet. So I have got this Porta-Power. It puts up 14,000 psi, and I've got it rigged up on this number 3 through the glow plug hole. And either one of two things are going to happen. It's going to leak by the rings too fast to build pressure, or we're going to blow something up. Where would y'all like to watch? All right, that didn't leak too much. I'm going to try number 4. So I filled my Porta-Power up with 90 weight to stop pumping it very good. Well, there's 1,000. Come on up there, buddy. Let's blow something up. What was that? That thing didn't move, did it? I still don't think there's any way this is going to run, but it is actually moving. Okay, so we were turning the engine backwards. I got air put on the clutch, and I got a new hook for my 36. I'm gonna go put a cheater on like we started with, and I'm gonna see if I can get this thing to move backwards. It's honestly not super tight. I tell you what, this tells a story of perseverance, because now, instead of just having a piece of junk iron, I got a piece of junk iron that'll turn. We made about half a round with it, didn't we? Something like that. I guess I'm just going to keep rocking this. There's no use in y'all watching. Well, there's smoke coming out of my brand new starter. This probably means it's time to quit. So that thing actually made a couple rounds. I was just giving up. It's about dark. I thought I'm just going to, I put a starter on it, and I was rolling it to a hard spot and backing it up, and rolling it until it stopped and back it up. And I just said the heck with it, and I just bumped the starter till it started moving. Looks like we're pumping Earl. Well, it's about 10 days later. We got 8 inches of rain. I figured 8 more inches of water in that motor is probably not going to hurt anything. I didn't even worry about putting anything over the exhaust. So I got a starter put on this thing, and I've rolled it over probably 20 revolutions or something. It's still really stiff. I don't think it would crank it if we had the glow plugs in it, but it will like it is. I actually got another starter. I'm gonna put another starter on it, but I've got to get the block cleaned out. The block is full of rust. The you know, the rods are rusted. The crankshaft is rusted. You know, even like this has even got like rust flake off of it. And so what I'm gonna do, you know, fixing to call me an idiot, and rightfully so. I got my shop vac. I'm going to suck the oil out of the oil pan. These don't hold that much oil. I can't remember how much they are. I think it's less than 10 gallons. And I can use that shop vac after I get the oil sucked out of it to vacuum around the bottom of the pan Obviously, this motor is toast, but if it's rebuildable, I don't want to make it worse. And so I would like to not have a bunch of rust in the oil pan. I'd like to try to get all the rust off the rods, etc., so that it doesn't pick all this up and pump it through the oil pump and whatever. See, like this, that's just like, it's terrible. It's just terrible. That's all there is to it. So let's see if we can do an oil change on a Caterpillar with the shop vac. So apparently there was more oil in that thing than I expected. Look how thin that is. It's just weird looking. It's so stupid. Hold on, I gotta drain this. I've made the biggest freaking mess ever. So this thing has got, I don't even know how to describe this. It's like a layer of soot in the bottom of the pan. That's not even the worst part. I've already got quite a bit out of it. Oh, golly. Look at that. That's what's in the bottom of the pan. Alright, I'm going to continue working on this and try not to ruin my camera. So I pulled this thing off the side of the oil pan. You got to see this. Look at that. I think that is just soot. This thing must have a couple of thousand hours on it and have never had the oil changed. I have never in my life ever seen anything like this. Okay, so I made a little progress here. This is 2 weeks later. I got the oil pan cleaned out as good as I can. It needed the oil pump pulled out of it so I could get the pickup screen off of it, but I cleaned up under it as good as I could. I really don't know if that's going to be an issue, and it may very well. But I got all these side pans, side plates, whatever you call them, put back on. I didn't buy any gaskets. I just silicone the crap out of them. Hopefully it doesn't leak so bad that we can't run it. I am ready to put some oil in this. There isn't any water yet. There's no coolant. That'll come later. I got a new 5-gallon bucket of Cam 2 1540 engine oil. I'm going to dump it in there and then go fill this bucket up with diesel. I want a new clean bucket. And I got to rig up a fuel line. I'm going to crank it without the glow plugs in it so that it doesn't have any compression until we build oil pressure. I think it just needs oil pressure on the bearings. The bearings have had a pretty rough existence, you know, with been rocking it back and forth and using hydraulics to break it loose. Anyway, I'm gonna get oil pressure, and then if we got diesel, we should be able to get the injection pump primed and to pick up fuel while we're building oil pressure. And then hopefully at that point I'll have to just put the glow plug block off things back in it and start it. I just can't believe how freaking nasty the inside of this thing is. I know I've said that a million times, but it just rust, and I don't know. I've given up on the idea of like making this clean on the inside. It's just not possible. There's just too much crap everywhere. Hopefully it'll just flush itself out, and if it actually does get fixed, if we overhaul it, we'll, you know, make it clean then. Okay, I got some fuel hooked up here. It does not feel like this is doing very much. So we got a leak right here on the primer pump. Let's pull this off and see what is to be seen there. Alright, so we need one of these. That's so fast you didn't even see it. So I suspect that this has been warped from over tightening. So I just went on my bench grinder and ground on either side of this. And let's put it back on, see if this works. If not, we'll have to go put this in a mill and surface this. I believe that's it. Alright, I think I'm ready to build oil pressure on this. I don't know if I've said, I put another starter on it. It's now got two 39 MT starters and 4 batteries. They're both 24 volts. They're wired together. I'm trying to remember how this works. This is the engine speed, and this would be idle and wide open, and that shuts it down. And this is an oil pressure keel, and I really don't remember exactly how this worked. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna start cranking on it. Let's see. Crank on it, see if it builds fuel pressure. So I got it to build about 5 pounds of oil pressure, and I could hear oil kind of gurgling in the engine. It's probably got some fresh oil to the bearings. I am not sure about what's going on with these, and I am just not familiar. It's got, this is the governor. This is similar to a 1693 3406A, D379s used on mine. I don't know a lot about these. I'm not a cat expert, but it looks similar. And this has got to have some kind of system in here behind this plate that takes the rack control and makes a 90-degree angle and goes into the governor or into the fuel pump. I'm gonna pull this plate off, see what's behind it, and we should be able to actuate the rack. And I think I'd like to be able just to see the rack itself, so if it tries to run away, we can shut it down. I don't have any idea what this lever does. You can't see it, but there's a fork that's in the governor part here, and it is not moving anything. It's locked up, which means if the rack is stuck or something, the governor is stuck. That's the reason that I didn't just try to start this thing. I wonder what's behind. I wonder what's behind this plate. Nothing. That doesn't look good. that supposed to be full of fuel? Oh my God. That's the rack right there. There's a rust in the rack. This thing keeps getting gooder and gooder and gooder. Oh my. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be full of fuel or oil. It may be supposed to be full of oil. Okay, these are obviously supposed to be going up and down. Give y'all a better view in there. It is just full of rust and rust. Good Lord. One of them moved. When I say one, I mean just one. I think the only chance I got here is to get this out so I can drive straight down on that. And so I hadn't opened my book. I don't have any idea what I'm doing here. I'm just going to pull these bolts out and see what happens. That doesn't look like that's supposed to be in two pieces. Okay, so the saga continues. I've actually got this all freed up. There is, you know, we broke this fuel pump plunger thing, whatever you call it. But we got 5 cylinders that should work, and it should run on 5 cylinders. The rack is freed up. It'll move, but it will not move inside the governor. The governor seems to be frozen. I took these plates off. This is some kind of a shutdown system. It's got oil pressure from here that goes through a high water temperature shutoff valve, so if it gets hot or loses oil pressure, this is supposed to be able to kill the engine. It's also got some kind of a governor system. I don't know exactly how it works, but there's a shaft turning that goes into here. And anyway, this does something here. And if you push, this pushes on that, that actually hits the rack and shuts the fuel off and kills it. I pulled this little plate back off, and I didn't see this earlier, but I wanted to show this to you. So this is what's in the governor. And I am fixing to split this governor housing and see what there is to be seen here. God. This is just mind-blowing. Okay, well that took 4 seconds. So I took a screwdriver and hit the rack and just smacked it with a hammer, and it moves farther now. But as I moved it, there's rust falling out of the governor. It's probably not a good sign. I really never had one of these apart, to be honest. I'm gonna pull the AFC housing off. There's no bolts under this idle setting, I don't think. Ooh. It's full of rust. So this is the throttle. It's hydraulic governor, and it's supposed to pop back and cam over. I guess maybe I've driven this down. Maybe I'll... should go down until this screw bottoms out, and this will be wide open throttle. I have probably got, I think this is the same governor as the 1693A model. They may have different weights or something in them, but I need to go look. I may have more than one of these laying around. So I'm going to go ahead and try to unbolt this governor. I think this whole thing comes off as one piece from this cast iron block here. I'll try to set the whole thing off, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Okay, after a ridiculous amount of hammering and spraying and oiling, I got this all freed up. The governor weights spin and get a screwdriver in there. They move in and out. I'm not really sure if they work. I'm going to try not to have to disassemble this. I wanted to show you, this is a drive shaft that spins the governor, and this is the yoke that engages in the rack. This is the rack here. This would be full throttle, and this would be no fuel. It's got lube oil pressure here and here, and it goes up through the governor housing into the AFC housing. And we're a little bit short on gaskets here. I hope that this doesn't hemorrhage. I don't care if it leaks, but this may make a mess. Anyway, I'm going to set the governor back on here, put these plates back on, at least this one, and try to button this stuff back up, see if it'll run. I wasn't even aware there was any steel in that. Okay, I got this crap all put back together. There's all the rust that fell out of it. So this doesn't quite work. Right now the rack's in full fuel, and I can get the rack to go to no fuel, but it doesn't. Well, it kind of did there. Yeah, it did a little bit. So this thing should be pumping fuel, and when I start cranking on this thing, it should start spraying fuel or fuel mist out the glow plug holes. I'm going to crank on it just a second. I'm going to stick y'all somewhere. Okay, so I'm ready to crank this thing. We should have 5 cylinders pumping fuel. We got one that's dead because of the, well, here's part of the plunger, but I'm going to crank this thing. We should see a fuel mist out the glow plug holes, and I want to make sure that I can control it with the throttle, make sure I can cut the fuel off, and I guess we'll put the glow plug block off plugs in it and see if it'll start. All right, that should be full fuel. That didn't take long. Okay, I got all them put in there. I got this in the no fuel position. I'm going to crank this over a little bit. I think I'm going to stand back and crank this over a little bit. I'm just a little bit concerned. I don't know of what. And then we'll dump some fuel to it, see if it'll start. Alright, we're gonna make this stupid thing run tonight. I'm about at a daylight. I'm confident enough in it that I am putting the water back in it as we speak. So last night I ethered it, hit the starter button, and it almost started. Y'all watched it. After that, it sort of went downhill, and it would ether knock on ether and try to run on ether, but it wouldn't do anything on fuel. And I think basically it just had more air in the injection system than I thought. You know, I obviously bled it to begin with. And anyway, there wasn't really anything else happen last night. This morning I came over here and rebled the fuel system and pumped on it a bunch, pushed a bunch of fuel through all the injector lines and everything, and it started smoking white out the exhaust pipe, and it actually popped a few times, and I think that it is probably really close to running. I'm going to ether it, and we're going to fire it up as soon as I get the water put in it. So that stupid little water pump's taking forever. It's got about, I don't know, a third of a barrel to go. I think it's got enough in it to start. I'm going to ether it. Got a brand new full can. Hit the starter button and see if this thing will run. These engines had glow plugs and they are kind of cold natured. And when it's cool, it's 60 degrees right now. Usually you either got an ether on or you got a glow plug on. Here we go. Thought about it. I'm going to spray in the air filter. Try that. I still don't completely understand this handle, but it has tripped and it was trying to shut the engine down. That's why it didn't have full rack travel. So let's reset. That should be full rack. So let's see if it'll start back. We still got a fuel supply issue. I don't know if the fuel pump's not turning or something. Alright, try this again. I don't know if you can see that house over there, but I bet I'm kind of smoking them out. running out. You know, it may be. I wonder if these may have some ancient fuel filters plugged up too. So this video's over. It ran. And the Zach is happy. I can't believe how little blow-by it's got. I guess the guy thought it was coming out the mouth guard. For some reason when you rev it up it runs out of fuel. It may just be need fuel filters. Well, video's over. Motor ran. I can't believe it. I nearly gave up on it several times. I got what I wanted. Obviously I wish it would have been a fresh overhauled engine, but that's, you know, it's not what I paid for, not what I got. It runs. I think that it's going to run good enough. I may try to find another plunger for that fuel pump so that we can have a 6-cylinder instead of a 5. It only acts now like it's running on 2 or 3. We may need to do a valve adjustment or see if something, you know, whatever, compression test or something. But maybe get it run just a little bit better so we can kick the clutch in and drive the pump. We need to make sure the pump's not going to have a rod knocking in it or something catastrophic or fluid in washed out. If the pump looks good, we'll repower it. I don't think I want to fix this engine. They're just expensive to work on and really not what I want anyway. We'll put something a little bit more normal and smaller on there and have us a good pump. I know it's been a long video. Hope you enjoyed it. Appreciate you watching. Like, share, subscribe. Catch you on the next one.